I'll take the oath.
If you take the oath, you will follow me as I dictate. May you please say I and state your full names.
I, Molefe Fani,
Swear that the evidence I shall give
swear that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
And so help me God.
And so help me God.
Thank you so much, Advocate Zikalala and Lieutenant General Fani. It is your time now. I want to wish you good luck.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start our discussion, Lieutenant General Dr. Fani, I want to deal with just a few housekeeping matters. Committee members, before you should have a witness statement bundle, which encompasses his witness statement and annexures. And then you should have separately before you also an exhibit bundle. That's about 20 pages. And those are the three bundles that we will work through together. Good morning again, Lieutenant General Dr. Fani. You hold two designations. You're both Lieutenant General and you're a doctor. Just for purposes of your evidence this morning, I wanted to find out how you would like for us to address you.
Anyhow it pleases the House.
Would it then be appropriate if we referred to you as General Fani in the same way that we've referred to other lieutenant generals that have been before the committee? And maybe let me then start from there. You have the designation of doctor. Can you tell us where you obtained your doctorate?
I obtained my doctorate at Da Vinci Business School.
Say that again.
Da Vinci Business School.
At Da Vinci Business School. And what is your doctorate in?
I did my doctorate in Management of Innovation and Technology with specialization in strategy management.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fani, you've been called before this committee to be able to assist us in relation to, in particular, two of the terms of reference. And so if you were to go to your witness statement at paragraph 3, page 3, in your witness statement, you outline at paragraph 7, 7.1 and 7.2, the two terms of reference that you will be speaking to in particular in relation to the procurement and alleged procurement irregularities regarding the healthcare contract that was eventually granted to Mr. Matlala's company, that is at 7.1. And at 7.2 in relation to other procurement-related matters. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thanks. So just to kick us off, could you give us your background in relation to your professional background and how you find yourself in the position that you are today?
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, I started my career as an engineer. I did chemical engineering. And I worked initially as a researcher, and then I moved into operations, into production, into project management. I joined ESCOM. In ESCOM, I occupied various positions, started off as the engineer, moved to being an operations support manager. Later on, I transitioned into procurement. That's where I started my procurement career at Grootvlei Power Station in Mpumalanga. I left ESCOM and I joined CSIR. I was with ESCOM for 13 years. I moved to CSIR. I was there for 5 years, purely in a procurement environment. I then applied for a job in Gauteng as the policy coordinator, Gauteng Provincial Treasury, as a policy coordinator, and I was then seconded to go to procurement to assist the person that was leading procurement in that space. Moved to a Central Energy Fund under AEMFC, where I was also group procurement manager for the mining company, wholly owned by government. I then moved to National Treasury as a chief director, responsible for transversal contracting. And the last year of my stay at National Treasury, just over a year, I was the acting chief procurement officer. And when the opportunity presented itself at the South African Police Service, I then applied for a job where I am currently as the divisional commissioner responsible for supply chain management and assets.
Thank you, General Fani. Just to confirm, you joined the South African Police Services in and around August of 2022?
The 1st of August of 2022, yes.
So you've roughly been in this position for just a little over 3 years?
Just over 3 years.
And you are the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain Management?
Correct.
I just want to refer the committee to the organizational structure, which is in the annexure bundle at page 10. It's annexure MF2. In relation to your direct reporting lines on annexure MF2, are you there? Mm-hmm. So this is the organizational structure within the SAPS in relation to your division, which is the procurement one. And you are the block just immediately below the National Commissioner. That's the position that you hold?
That's correct.
And below you, the rest of the supply chain services then would fall. Is that correct? I was saying then below you, the rest of the supply chain heads and various components within the supply chain department then report to you.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you. So in relation to your evidence, before we get into the details of the contract that was eventually awarded to Mr. Matlala, I thought it might be of assistance if you were to take the committee through the usual process within which procurement is done within the SAPS. Just take us through the various steps that will follow. And so I'm going to ask you to turn to about paragraph 13 of your witness statement. Let me know when you're there.
I'm on 13. It's not the procurement process, it's the BAC process.
Thank you.
Honorable Chair.
That's the section that's headed the SAPS procurement framework.
That's on page 6 of the statement.
Yes, on page 6.
Thank you very much.
So just at a high level, your witness statement already details how the procurement process within the SAPS, but if you could take us maybe through a step-by-step of how kind of the initiation of procurement projects up until we get to contract signing. Maybe we can take each step at a time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I would like to start by indicating that the procurement policy or the national instruction that governs procurement within the South African Police Service stems from the National Treasury regulations that are promulgated in line with PFMA. And within the South African Police Service, we've got the national instruction. The national instruction gives us a method and methodology of how procurement will take form and shape within the departments. Working together with the national instruction is the delegation of authority document. The delegation of authority would then clarify some of the delegations that are given in the policy, if they are not expressly indicated in the policy. Governed with that, or coupled with that, is the appointments with regards to delegation by the accounting officer, giving specific delegations to functionaries within the organization. So procurement process typically starts with the compilation of the procurement process, a procurement plan. The procurement plan is normally put together and submitted to National Treasury around March, April of each year. The procurement plan indicates all the procurement needs that exist within the organization and the needs that needs to be satisfied through a tender process. Any other need that has to be satisfied through a quotation process would follow a different process, which is also indicated in the procurement policy of the South African Police Service. Now, the policy of South African Police Service differs from all other, but they are all aligned to all other organs of states, but they are all aligned to National Treasury prescripts. Now, once the need has been quantified and has been put in the plan, various environments in compliance to the policy would then activate procurement needs individually. Just for an example, this health risk contract was or had prominence in the procurement plan and was activated by the end user that the procurement process must start.
Just for clarification, so you're saying that the current contract that we are concerned with, the health risk management contract, that was initially reflected in the procurement plan, and that contract was initiated by the end user. And can you confirm that the end user was the division Human Resource Management?
I can confirm that it was, yes.
Okay. So just for orientation, we are at about now paragraph 17 of your witness statement. Okay, so once the end user has now indicated that they would like a particular good procured, what is then the next step?
Once the need has been activated, we then assemble a team that would look at the bid specification, because we need to have quantification of the specification.
Okay.
Now,
just General Fani, just for purposes of committee members, in the exhibit bundle, there's intended to be a flow diagram that shows the various committees that are involved. Unfortunately, it didn't print properly, so there is now a loose leaf that indicates the various committees involved. So what we are now starting with is a discussion about the bid specification committee. You can take it from there.
Thank you very much. The bid specification committee's responsibilities is twofold. One would be to confirm the existing spec, its relevance, or to craft a new specification for the acquisition of the goods and the services that are required, as identified in the procurement plan or as identified by the need that's activated. So
in trying to use maybe a bit more layman language, when we talk about, identifying the particular spec, this is essentially the committee that says you want to procure a particular item. This is the various requirements that must be in the item. If you could give us an example of just how that specification or process is done, just,
Right. Each need would follow a unique process depending on the type of need that has been identified. For an example, if you're looking for an existing component for an existing product, you would then have to craft the specification for the product that you are looking for. If it is for a service, it will also take a different form whatsoever. There are some of the services that would require additional mandatory requirements, such as if you're buying health products, you would then have to have SAPRA accreditation or other types of accreditations that are required.
Okay. So, for example, this is the committee, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. This is the committee that says, if I'm procuring skipping ropes, are they skipping ropes that will be made of leather, or will they be made of material? Those kind of requirements. That's what the committee will essentially be specifying, those details for people who want to bid.
Correct. We would then have to prompt in terms of what the need was. Remember, the acquisition of a product would be to satisfy a need. It could be a means to satisfaction of the need. We need to establish what the need is and how we will satisfy that need. So the bid specification committee will then look at the how product, or the how the need would be satisfied.
Thank you. How is that committee then composed?
The committee is, we as the procurement, once the end user nominate, or once the user indicate to us that they have a need for a goods or a service, we will then write to them and ask them to nominate members to serve in the committee. It is a practice in South African Police Service, and it is stipulated in the policy that the divisional commissioner in that space, because of their delegation in terms of finance accountability, they would be the ones that commit the division in terms of the need is required and that there are funds available for the acquisition of that goods or service. They will then nominate individuals to serve in the bid specification committee. The component head responsible for demand will then also nominate individuals from procurement space to also serve in the bid specification committee, and that nominations will be combined and sent to me for approval as the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain. Okay,
so what I understood you to be saying is that in respect of the health risk contract, the end user would have nominated the individuals who would have sat on the bid specification committee from human resource development, because that are the people who are from that environment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then thereafter, they would have sent those nominations, which include people from that environment as well as from supply chain. They would have sent those nominations to you in order for you to approve those. So the names of the people who are eventually on the committee are approved by you.
The end user sends nominations to the component head of demand, who consolidates and sends to me for approval.
Thank you.
Correct.
All right. And then so after this bid specification committee has completed their process, I think in terms of the flow, the kind of very simplistic flow chart, then the tender is advertised. Is that correct?
We have other quality assurance steps that we have put into place within our procurement process, and it makes prominence in the policy as well. We do have a pre-advertisement committee that sits. It is a committee within the component procurement. Their function is to look at the relevance, the accuracy, fairness, and whether the tender would be equitable when sent, and that there is no issues of brand preference or any segregation of any type with regards to that. Basically, they're looking at the legalities that should be embedded in the tender process, and then the tender would be advertised.
Okay, thank you. So can we then move in relation to the next very important committee, which is the bid evaluation committee? Can you then take us through what is the role of the bid evaluation committee? Just for purposes of orientation, we're on page 10 of your witness statement, starting from paragraph 24. But if you can just talk us through the the role and the functions of the bid evaluation committee.
The functions of the bid evaluation committee also clearly stipulated in the procurement policy indicate, among others, but might not be exhaustive because members of the bid evaluation committee are expected to do due diligence beyond what is stipulated in the procurement policy, but within the confines of the law. They need to make sure that whether the responding suppliers complied with the applicable bid specifications or conditions of tender, capabilities or abilities of the bidder are there to execute the contract. Issues of tax compliance and needs to be taken into. We also have other government initiatives such as NEP that needs to be taken care of. We also they have to look at whether the standard bidding documents have been completed and they have been accurately completed in line with the guidelines provided by National Treasury for the completeness of the bid specifications committee. They also need to do other checks, legislative checks, such as to make sure that the in-service status of the owners of the bidder are in order. What I mean by that, they need to check that the owners of the companies are not working for government. They also have to go and check whether the supplier or the bidder has not been restricted by National Treasury. They also have to check whether the owners of the company have not been restricted to do business with government by National Treasury. There is a process and a way to do those checks. Those are among other things that they're doing. But finally, when they are done, they have to compile a comprehensive report to the bid adjudication committee nominating a supplier. Either nominating the supplier, in this instance, they were nominating a supplier to be appointed, or not nominating any supplier if there is no successful bidder that could be nominated at the end of that evaluation process.
Okay. So the bid evaluation committee, and I guess the clue is in the name, that they're the ones that evaluate the bids that are subsequently then given in order to eventually make a recommendation. So they do the evaluation, but they ultimately only make a recommendation in the report that goes on to the bid adjudication committee. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So then the last committee that we want to speak about is the bid adjudication committee. Can you confirm you are the chairperson of the bid adjudication committee?
Correct.
All right. And at Annexure Bundle, page 348, you let me know when you're there.
I am there.
At Annexure Bundle, page 348, this would be your appointment, as I understand, from the National Commissioner in order to serve on the bid adjudication committee.
Correct.
And it then sets out your roles and responsibilities. In that case, in your case, it's to chair the BAC meetings. It also says to strive to be punctual for meetings. But at 3.3, it also talks to the fact that you are required to assess the recommendations of the bid evaluation committee and determine whether to support or not support the award of the tender. Is that correct?
Correct.
At 3.5, your bid adjudication committee, which you chair, then has the power to be able to make recommendations on various things like deviations, contract extensions, variation orders. And at 3.6, it states that your committee, the BAC, is required to ensure that all necessary documents have been submitted. 3.7, disqualifications are justified. 3.8, scoring has been fair, consistent, and correctly calculated. And 3.9, ensure that bidders have declared interests.
Correct.
And over the page, the BAC is required to ensure that the evaluation was done according to the advertised criteria, and also has the power to request the bid evaluation committee to make any kind of reconsideration of their submissions if required. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so ultimately, and the bid adjudication committee is the committee that makes the final award.
Correct. In line with the delegated authority by the accounting officer.
Yes. And is this the delegated authority, or is there another document that you wanted to refer to?
No. In terms of this, to make awards, it makes prominence in exactly the same document. 3.4, award as delegated by the accounting officer.
Correct. And can you confirm that your committee has been delegated, or you have been delegated to make an award?
The committee has been delegated to make the award.
Thank you. And then what is then the last step that follows from there?
Once the committee has received a report and they have satisfied themselves that all the requirements have been met, and that this supplier or this bid can be awarded, then the bid adjudication committee then signs, all the members signs in agreement. Should there be anyone that has a different opinion, that would make prominence in the minutes. We take the minutes, and we also take the recording of the discussions, so that we make sure that the form is signed by everybody, the minutes are captured, and they are approved accordingly, and the recording is kept accordingly. Then the engagement with the supplier would be the supplier that has been awarded by the BIC would then be notified of the award. And in terms of delegation of authority document, the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain, who is myself, is approved to sign the contract with the winning bidder. And once the bidder starts the work, or before the bidder starts the work, whichever is applicable or is convenient, the end user, if necessary, will then have a service level agreement entered into, which will regulate the relationship between the winning bidder and the operational environment, in making sure that the performance of the contract from both ends is seamless, and that the service is received accordingly.
Thank you, General Fani. So I'd like to be able to turn then specifically to the health risk services contract. Just briefly, can you outline what the health risk management services contract tender was essentially for? What services were being procured with this tender?
The health risks, this contract has quite a number of layers and services that are required to be delivered by the supplier. They are supposed to screen new employees. They are required to screen existing employees for issues such as ill health, terminations, or medical unfit. They are also required to do any other services that are related to the health of the employee within the South African Police Service as contracted in this contract. There's quite a number of I've just condensed all the services, but it's basically got to do with all the issues related to new sign-ins, all issues related to current employees, all related issues, health issues related to service termination, ill health issues, or any other health risk issues within the South African Police Service.
Yes. And is my understanding correct that this would have had to have been a service provider that was either in the medical space, being able to do the various assessments and tests and so on, to be able to render the services? So as I understand it, and you'll correct me, the previous service provider was Metropolitan, and that this is normally a service that is bid for by entities that are in the medical space or can provide health services.
The determination of what would be a qualifying criteria for any supplier to provide goods or services within the South African Police Service is determined by the end users. So the end users in the bid specification have crafted what would qualify a supplier to provide the goods and services. In that bid specification committee, we had end users or end user representatives that operate in that space, and they have crafted that bid specification. We as procurement are supposed to ensure that the procurement process to acquire those goods and services is in line with the policy that we have within the South African Police Service. And the end user had provided us with the specification, and we published according to that specification.
So just at page 17, paragraph 42, you detail the relevant chronology in relation to how this tender eventually unfolded. So the initiation of the process began on the 8th of November 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, for the needs, there may have been other steps prior to that where we write to each other to ask that they submit nominations and submit spec and that, but the actual satisfaction, starting of the satisfaction of the need started on the 8th of November of 2023 with the bid specification process.
Okay. And then can you take us over and just take us through the various steps that have been taken?
Okay, the high-level steps that also took place in this regards. On the 16th of January of 2024, we had the pre-advertisement meeting was held. As I've indicated earlier, this is a quality assurance group that assists us with making sure that the bid spec response is accurate and that we would not have unfairly excluded others by virtue of crafting of the spec. The bid on the 31st of January, the bid was published on the SAPS website and e-tender. On the 8th of February, we had a compulsory briefing session. The briefing session is mainly to ensure that the prospective bidders come and ask as many questions as they wish to clarify any matter that they may not have understood so that we get a responsive bidder at the end of the day. On the 19th of February, the bid was closed. Only 22 bids were received, and Medicare 24 Tshwane district was one of those bids that were received. And on
just to pause there, so 22 bids were received.
Yes.
One of the bids that was received was from Medicare 24 Tshwane District, which is the company that was essentially owned by Mr. Matlala.
Correct.
Correct. Can you then continue?
On the 29th of April of 2024, the bid evaluation committee, having conducted the evaluation process, then prepared a report recommending the appointment of Medicare 24 Tshwane District on May of 2024.
So the bid evaluation committee sat and then prepared its report. We are going to go and have a look at the report a little later. But ultimately, following an evaluation process, the bid evaluation committee essentially then recommended to the bid adjudication committee that Medicare 24 Tshwane District must be appointed.
Yes.
Okay. And so you can take it now from May 2024?
May 2024, I believe that the chairperson of the committee, this committee, wrote to the National Commissioner prior to May 2024. The dates I don't have, but it should be there in the response by the National Commissioner.
Okay.
Where the National Commissioner was asked as to whether Mr. Sunil Belucham, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, apologies if I'm not, from IDEC, had contacted him, asking him about the issues of Medicare 24 Tshwane. The National Commissioner then contacted a functionary or an official in supply chain.
General Fani, maybe to assist you, can I ask the committee, can you turn to Annexure MF6? So the context to this request for information that's at MF6 is that when the National Commissioner gave evidence, he indicated that when the tender was being adjudicated, that he received a call from a member from IDEC warning that there was a company called that was linked to Mr. Matlala that was bidding for the contract. And so what is at Annexure MF6 is the responses, the further responses from the National Commissioner following his engagement with the evidence leaders. And just to recap, the responses from the National Commissioner says that he was contacted by a gentleman from IDEC called Mr. Sunil Belucham in and around May 2024. So just in terms of the timeline we're talking about, this is after the bid evaluation committee has completed the evaluation, but before the bid adjudication committee awards the contract, makes the final award.
Correct.
And what the National Commissioner indicated was that this gentleman from IDEC had raised concerns that there was Medicare 24 Tshwane did not have a valid tax clearance certificate and had been blacklisted, and that it seemed to have been linked to an entity that was linked, or a person that was involved in Tembisa Hospital. So you were then indicating that from this response, he said that he spoke to an official.
Yeah, he had not spoken to me. He had spoken to the official in my absence. I was on leave at the time, and National Commissioner was assured that there is nothing untowards with regards to the evaluation process. when we started, I'll just mention that part here because it's critically important, even though we are not dealing with the adjudication process. When the bid adjudication set and we did the declaration, it would appear that the bid adjudication committee members did not know of any concerns that were raised by IDEC, because when I called upon for them to declare, none of them had any declarations to make with regards to this contract. Neither did I have any declaration because it was unknown to me that this concern had been raised with the National Commissioner.
Yes, but it had been raised with the National Commissioner. Who's the official that the National Commissioner says that he spoke to?
In his letter, in his response to the chairperson of this committee, the National Commissioner has indicated that he had spoken to Major General Hankins.
Yes. And in what capacity was Major General Hankins acting at the time?
I was on leave. She was acting as the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain.
So then, despite those, the concerns were raised, then they proceeded to the adjudication.
The unknown to the bid adjudication committee, the tender was tabled to the bid adjudication committee for adjudication, and we did sit as the adjudication committee to adjudicate.
And then on the 18th of June 2024, Medicare 24 Tshwane was awarded the health risk management services contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, General Fani, can I now request that we look at the bid evaluation committee report? It's at Annexure MF7.
Can I get the page?
Page 368. So, certainly just to clarify, the heading of the document is written Submission Bid Adjudication Committee. Is this the report of the Bid Evaluation Committee?
That's the report compiled by the Bid Evaluation Committee for consideration by the Bid Adjudication Committee. Correct.
Correct. So even though it's headed Bid Adjudication Committee, we must understand it as the BEC report.
Correct.
Right. So just starting at page 370, paragraph 5. This is the list of all the bidders, the 22 bidders that had submitted bid in responses to the advertisement.
Correct.
And Medicare 24 Tshwane, its full name is not written out, is indicated to be bidder number 20.
Correct.
Can you then take us through what the first phase of the adjudication process was for this contract?
The adjudication
the evaluation process.
Thank you. I was about to highlight that the adjudication does not have phases. The evaluation process, the first phase is the mandatory documentation. So mandatory documentations here would be clearly stipulated, and if none of the bidders submit those mandatory documentation, they would automatically be disqualified. Coupled with that are the issues of bid documents, standard bidding documents, which must also be submitted. If any of the standard bidding documents are missing, the supplier would, or the bidder would also be disqualified from the process.
Okay. So essentially, the bid evaluation committee starts out with 22 bids and assesses them for whether the mandatory documents are present. And at page 375, paragraph 8, it then excludes 10 bidders from there. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so after checking whether the mandatory documents were there, what remains are 12 bidders.
Correct.
And as you see, bidder number 20, Medicare 24 Tshwane District, is one of the 12 bidders.
That's correct.
Can you then take us through the next phase? Or let me ask this question. So is it then your understanding that having excluded the 10 bidders, the 12 that had remained had all the required documentation in order to be able to proceed to the next phase of evaluation?
In the report that was submitted to the bid adjudication committee, it would appear that the bid evaluation committee had applied their mind and have made certain that all the relevant documentation and all the relevant requirements of the bid documents have been complied to, and in the report then they're recommending that the suppliers be carried to the next phase of evaluation, and all other suppliers that were disqualified, in the report it was clearly stipulated why they were disqualified. We have interrogated that report as a bid adjudication committee and made certain that the reasons cited for disqualification were justified.
So can you take us through the next phase of evaluation that took place?
The next phase of evaluation, once you have gotten the mandatory as well as the SPD documents, would typically be, in this instance, was to go and look at the functionality, what would term functionality in the evaluation process.
But what does that mean practically?
What it means is you're looking at all the stipulations that were made in the bidding documents that the supplier was supposed to comply to in order for them to fulfill the requirements of the job.
Yes. So if one looks at paragraph 9.1, the questions are, does the bidder have a live operating system in place on a 24-hour basis? Is there a 24-hour line to get a hold of the bidder should they be required? Does the bidder have the necessary functional equipment like mobile units in all provinces when required to conduct medical examinations and tests? So, and that's just examples of the various functional things that they were looking for.
Those are the things that they looked at in order for us to ensure that the bidders have not claimed to have these functions on paper. We would then add another leg of due diligence where we physically go to the facilities listed in the bid documents, the address listed in the bid document, to make sure that these facilities or these functions actually are catered for by the supplier.
So in relation to Medicare 24 Tshwane district, where did they go to ascertain that these services actually existed?
It would appear that they went to the address that has been provided in the bid documents.
And is there, this is the document that ultimately serves before the bid adjudication committee. So is there anything that more in this document that indicates exactly what that address was?
No, in the address, in the report that's given to the bid adjudication committee, the address was not stipulated. It is an understanding and that we only entertain what is submitted in the bid. So the address was provided in the bid documents, in one of the SBD documents that the bidder has provided. Should there have been a different address that the bid evaluation committee would have to go to, the supplier or the bidder would have had to write to us and indicate, to the bid evaluation committee and indicate a different address to the bid evaluation committee. It doesn't appear that such a change of address was indicated to the bid evaluation committee, to the information at my disposal.
So the bid evaluation committee at 9.2.3 on page 376 essentially says that it conducted a due diligence at, and amongst others, at Netcare Occupational Health, Carawell Holdings. I'm reading the wrong one. It's actually 9.2 point. Oh, yes. 9.2.3. That they say that they conducted due diligence at Blue Collar Occupational Health, Medicare 24 Tshwane District, and Mohumuzi Trading Pty Ltd. And the report only says that due diligence was conducted. It doesn't indicate whether it was successful, but is that your understanding that they found these services that they were looking for?
It is an understanding that if all was in order in terms of the criteria that was set for the evaluation, we would only in the report reflect what was the deviation so that we may understand the deviation, so that in the adjudication phase we may understand the nature of that deviation that was discovered during the evaluation process. And in this instance, all those suppliers where there was or were deviations were highlighted as such, and we have interrogated that list.
Okay. And then following that due diligence exercise, there then remain 7 bidders who go into the final phase of evaluation on issues of price. It says price matrix report.
Yes. Correct.
And the 7 bidders are indicated from page 378, paragraph 10 of that report.
Correct.
And again, Medicare 24 Tshwane District is included as one of those.
Correct.
And then what is the eventual process that is undertaken on the price matrix report?
The price matrix report would be populated. It becomes quite a cumbersome document. All the suppliers that made it to price would then be populated on a matrix. A formula would be applied, and then there will be a ranking with regards to, and the BEE scores will also be included, and then there will be a ranking in terms of the supplier with the highest points. In this instance, the supplier that had the highest points on those two attributes was the Medicare 2420, and the BEE. The bid evaluation committee populates that matrix, and the outcome of that matrix is then put into a report indicating that the supplier is the one that had the highest points in terms of that matrix population.
Okay. And so the ultimate recommendation at page 379, paragraph 12 of that report is that from the bid evaluation committee is that the tender or the award be given to Medicare 2420 district.
Correct.
This report is then what ultimately serves before your committee, the bid adjudication committee.
Correct.
And it serves before the bid adjudication committee with 2 annexures, if I understand, if that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are, just to take one step back, at page 368, the 2 annexures that are outlined. Can you just indicate what they are?
The first annexure here is the need activation, and then annexure B is the bid specification document.
So this report plus the need activation and the bid specification are what goes to your committee. Can you then take us through how the bid adjudication committee then decided to then approve this recommendation to appoint Medicare 2420 district?
The bid adjudication committee, the secretariat of the component head, let me start there. The component head, I'm getting feedback, Chair. The bid evaluation committee completes their evaluation and they put a report together. Once the report is put together, the procurement policy makes provision for quality assurance in the process. The section head procurement would then go, and there is responsibilities to go and check and validate that the claims that are made in the report are indeed accurate. It may require, in some instances, for them to consult the source documents, the bid documents received, just to ascertain that even the reasons for disqualification or the reasons for qualification have been met before that matter is submitted to the bid adjudication committee. Once the section head has looked at that, he signs the report to indicate his satisfaction of the report. He then passes it over to the component head, who does another set of validation or quality check of the document to make sure that the section head had not missed anything that needed to have been identified as an anomaly in the process. Once the component head is satisfied that everything is in order, he or she will then sign and then table this with the secretariat for deliberations with the bid adjudication committee. So we do have sets of quality assurance steps that we have in place to make sure that the submission that comes to the bid adjudication committee is not thick and cumbersome, including the source documents, and that the evaluation report is totally independent of all the other attachments that they are there. Typically, what the members of the bid adjudication committee would do is that each member would receive their file with all the documentation required. They would go through the file and make sure that they look at all the aspects that they need to look at. The angle of how each member would look at solely rests on them with regards to what are the things that they would be looking for. But when we do look at the issue, some of the things that we normally would look at is that indeed the needs were identified and there's funds available for this. We're also looking at that the bid specification committee did sit and approved the specification. We also look that the tender was duly advertised, and it was not only advertised at a medium that cannot be accessed by all the suppliers to look at issues of equality, and we also looking at that every reason that was given for the disqualification of the suppliers is indeed in line with the policy and is also in line with the applicable legislation, and that no supplier has been disqualified unfairly. We would then look at any other matter that may be of interest at that time from one tender to another. In this instance, we have looked at in that fashion. When we did have deliberations in the bid adjudication committee,
Yes.
Each member would then have to highlight what are the issues that they had concerns with, and each member has indicated they were not material at all. We were worried about the time frame of the contract. The time frame of the contract, we were asking why the contract was not done in 5 years, based on the nature, and we did come to a conclusion as the bid adjudication committee that the circumstances in subs do change from time to time, and a longer term contract would not be necessarily required. Other than that, there was nothing material that could stop the award of this contract based on the information at our disposal at that time submitted from the bid evaluation committee.
So if I understand you correctly, because the main issue you say that the bid adjudication committee considered was the length of the contract.
Yep.
And didn't consider whether the mandatory documents were submitted, whether there was an evaluation properly done on price, and so on.
Apologies. We would not discuss things that are already contained in the report, which do not require any clarification. So that information was provided in the report, and we did not have to have any deliberations with regards to that. My role as the chairperson of the committee. Can I proceed,
Yes,
Chair?
you can
My role as the chairperson of the bid adjudication committee is to afford each member an opportunity to indicate their decision with regards to the submission. You will pick up in the recording, each member was asked to make a comment with regards to the adjudication, and there is nothing material that came out. All members indicated that they're okay with the submission at their disposal.
Can I take you back to Annexure Bundle, the Annexures Bundle 348?
I'm with you.
Yes. As I understand the bid adjudications committee's functions as set out in this annexure bundle 348, is that the bid adjudication committee is required to ensure that all necessary documents have been submitted. That is one of the requirements of the bid adjudication committee.
Correct. I have indicated when I started, if we were to relook at every document that was submitted as part of this bid and look at each document, it will defeat the process of adjudication. The evaluation process needs to look at all the documents, all of them, line by line, and make sure that that work is complete and that they are not disqualifying any supplier unfairly. In the process, as a build-up to adjudication, we have included 2 quality assurance processes that then make sure that the source documents are indeed have indeed been looked at correctly and that they have been populated correctly. It is impractical for the bid adjudication committee to look at each document and to have a submission of each documents that are put forward that have come with the bid document. It is quite a very, very, very huge number. You can imagine 22 submissions. If we were to look at 22 submissions, we might as well have our job descriptions changed completely and just look at bid adjudication issues. Hence, we have made sure that we've got quality assurance along the way to ensure that we are okay as bid adjudication committee with regards to what is contained in the documentation. However, there has been instances in other documents or tenders that have been adjudicated where we have requested documentation to make sure that indeed the documentation or the information has been populated correctly. It was, in the opinion of the bid adjudication committees at that time when adjudicating this document, that the report was complete.
Thank you. Can I, so you indicate now in your evidence that it would be impractical for the bid adjudication committee to look, as it says here, and ensure that the documents are submitted. But in relation to the bidder that you eventually award, shouldn't it at least be able to ensure that that bidder has all the necessary documents submitted?
As I've indicated, the report appeared to be complete with regards to how information was compiled and submitted to the bid adjudication committee.
And then in just at page 349, in terms of your requirements, yes. Yes. Yeah. And then at page 349, paragraph 3.10, and that one of the further requirements is that the evaluation, that it is required to ensure that the evaluation was done according to the advertised criteria.
Correct. If you go to the report itself, you would indicate it. You would notice that the just give me a second. One of the things that we are looking at to ensure that the bid was evaluated in line with the advertised bid, we ask that the bid specification be attached. The bid specification was attached. When members of the bid adjudication committee evaluate in their own space, because we provide the files, they look at the advertised bid, they look at whether the criteria that has been indicated for advancement or for exclusion is indeed in line with the bid specification that was issued with the tender. Yes, the bid specification was attached, and we did look into that. We may not have made statement in our reporting that we looked into that, but that is one of the attributes that we look at. And yes, the bid spec was annexed as Annexure B in the submission, in the evaluation report.
Does the bid adjudication committee, is there a report from the bid adjudication committee that outlines what process they undertook when making the final award?
We remember the delegation that we've been given as the bid adjudication committee is that we must adjudicate an award. Should it have been necessary for us to adjudicate and make recommendations, we would have made the recommendation report to the next level of approval. In this instance, as the bid adjudication committee, there's two source documents that we use as evidence that we looked at the matter that was that was sent to us for adjudication. We do have a decision matrix or decision sheet that we fill in. You may want to refer to that later as an annexure, but the decision sheet we would clearly indicate whether we have approved, not approved, or referred back, and we would list the reasons why we did not approve, or we would list the reason why we referred it back on that decision list. Sometimes when we do approve with conditions, and we will clearly stipulate what those conditions are. And we will clearly minute in the minutes of the committee what were the resolutions of the committee, because if we were to detail he said, I said, and he said, and that said, we would probably have cumbersome set of minutes. The resolution of the bid adjudication committee are listed in the minutes. If there are sometimes instances, for instance, this one, where the members of the committee indicated that they approve, and the issue was whether 3 years or 5 years, but that was immaterial because the tender was advertised on 3 years. The discussion around 3 years or 5 years was whether the end user was justified or shouldn't have considered the 5 years, but it was immaterial at the time because the tender was advertised for 3 years and the adjudication and evaluation and everything else had to revolve around 3 years.
So if I understand, then your evidence is that in respect of this particular tender, there's no report that explains the basis on which the bid adjudication committee awarded approved the award of to Medicare 24 Fani. I'm talking about a report that one can look at to see what the reasons were for approving the evaluation. There's no report that exists.
The decision matrix is essentially a report. We reduce our decisions for not approving or refer back in that decision matrix. In some instances, like I've indicated, if we need to make stipulations of the conditions for approval, we would do that. In this instance, there were no conditions for approval, and the report clearly indicates that it is approved, and each member of the bid adjudication committee has attached a signature indicating their agreement to what has been listed on that decision matrix or decision sheet.
But this decision matrix is not in your bundle.
It is there.
If you can make it available to the committee, that would be, I'm sure we can do so at the break.
Okay. I've made it available to you. I will indicate to you outside the meeting what that is. We might have it.
Are you talking about the minute?
No, not the minutes. The cover sheet, that decision sheet. It clearly indicates what the decision was of the committee. It can only be 3: approved, not approved, or referred back. If it's not approved, we clearly stipulate the reasons on that sheet. And if it was referred back, we clearly indicate why we referred it back, because the minutes are not shared with the end users, only the reasons why we have done that. If we approve, it is by default that the members of the committee have agreed to the contents as contained in the bid evaluation report that is sent to the bid adjudication committee.
Yes. Just for my own clarification, this decision matrix, does it say anything more than approved, not approved, or conditions?
It doesn't say anything more than that because there was no other stipulations to be made.
So is there a report that sets out the reasons for approval?
What we have done since resolved to do is that in the minutes we would say approved as presented so that it completes the sentence. The report as was in terms of the recommendation that is there in the report was approved. Remember, we are approving the recommendation that is made to the bid adjudication committee.
Thank you. So the minutes of the bid adjudication committee are in Annexure Bundle 394.
Correct.
So would it be fair to say that the bid adjudication committee doesn't do any independent verification of its own? It essentially relies on the report that is tabled before it to make its determination.
The members of the bid adjudication committee are at liberty at any given point if they need further clarification with regards to any item that is on the bid adjudication bid. Let's call it a bid evaluation. Let's call it what it is here, bid adjudication, bid evaluation report. If at any given time they require, there has been instances, like I've indicated, where members of the bid adjudication committee requested further information to be in the position to qualify the statements or the claims that are made in the report in order for us to make an informed decision with regards to the matter that served before us.
So what I understand you to be saying is that there have been instances where they've done independent verification. What I'm trying to understand is with regards to this particular adjudication process, was there any independent verification that was done outside of reading the evaluation report and considering the evaluation report? Was there any independent actions taken by the bid adjudication committee before it made the award?
It would appear that no information was solicited outside what was presented to the bid adjudication committee, because nothing was advanced by any member in the committee. The process would be, if by any chance the member of the bid adjudication committee wants matters clarified, they do not contact anybody outside of the bid adjudication committee. They would have to come to the bid adjudication committee and request additional information. We have to have controlled documents, and we have to have a record of what was given to the bid adjudication committee. So it would appear that nobody has requested any other information outside what could have been requested through the bid adjudication committee process.
Just a clarification, you say that it would appear that there was no additional documents sought or no independent other information that was sought. You were part of that adjudication process.
Yes, I was.
So it's maybe a little bit more than something that would appear. It would be something that you were involved with. Is that correct?
No. What I meant was, if any member of the bid adjudication committee requested additional documentation other than what was presented in the file on this matter, such a request was not done through the formal sitting of the bid adjudication committee. The information that we adjudicated on was on what was in the file and what was presented to the bid adjudication committee.
Okay, so yes. Okay, thank you very much. So we were looking at the minute of the bid adjudication committee, which starts at annexure page 394. And just confirm for me that item 7.6 is the tender that we're concerned with, the Medicare 24 Tshwane contract?
Correct.
And what is over the page at page 396? What is the recordal that's made by the bid adjudication committee?
Sorry, please repeat the question. Sorry.
Just at page 396, over the page, what essentially is the recordal that's made by the bid adjudication committee?
The adjudication committee approved the submission that was put before them, and it's minuted as such.
Thank you.
Maybe just to corroborate the point that I've made earlier on with regards to should there be a need for additional information on 395 on item 7.4. You would note that when we adjudicated that memo 54, the BAC wants clarification on a criteria used to select the winning bid. We do interrogate the reports, and when there's additional information required, we then stipulated as such in the minutes. I just wanted to indicate that point that I have made. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, General Fani. I guess the point is that in relation to this health risk services contract, you didn't request additional information. You may have requested it for other submissions, but you didn't request it when you were adjudicating this particular tender.
That's correct.
So then I think in the timeline where we are is that the award is then made, and it's made on the 18th of June 2024. Is that correct? I'm reading that date from
yes. Yes.
I'm reading that date from page 21
the award,
of the witness statement.
We set on the 14th of 2024, 2 days before June 16th, and yes, we adjudicated on the 14th of June and awarded on the 14th of June, and the contract was signed on the 18th of June.
The contract was signed by the 18th of June.
Correct.
And the contract was signed by you?
The contract was signed by me by virtue of my delegation in terms of the delegation of authority document.
So where we are then in the timeline is that the contract is awarded in June 2024. And then in December, there is a meeting that is held. So can you then go to page 24 of your statement? Paragraph 47.
I'm there.
And then can you explain to us then what took place in December 2024?
In December of 2024, there was a media article that or report that spoke to the subs having awarded a contract to a fraudster, and the minister then called us into a meeting. And
can I just confirm, when you're saying the minister, you're referring to Minister Mkunu?
I'm speaking to the minister at the time, Minister Mkunu, called us into a meeting, and the National Commissioner was there, and all other areas were there, internal audit, legal, finance. And in that meeting, the minister then instructed that the contract be audited, the procurement or the supply chain management handed the documents over to internal audit in subsequent days thereafter for internal audit to do their audits of that contract.
Thank you. So just in relation to that meeting that was held, do you recall the date of that meeting?
Not offhand. I may provide that because I think it was a calendar request. I would provide that if it is there.
And can you just give us some insight? What was the nature of the discussions that took place in December around this contract?
I may summarize it that the minister had indicated that there's an article that he's uncomfortable with, that may bring the organization into disrepute, and he would like to get a briefing with regards to what's happening with that contract. The briefing was provided, and based on what was advanced to the minister at the time, the minister then took a decision that a full audit must be conducted and an audit report must be produced.
So who conducted the briefing to the minister? Who conducted the briefing to the minister?
I did the briefing of some sort, no, I did the briefing, I think. Yeah.
So you conducted, and can you give us insight to what you explained to the minister about the award of this contract?
I just gave the chronological sequence of what happened, and based on that, because of I did not know the extent at which there were anomalies in the tender, the decision was then taken that let's then quantify the anomalies that are being leveled in the report, and the internal audit process kicked in.
At what point in time did you become aware that the tender had been awarded to Mr. Matlala's company?
I only became aware when there was a media, this media report came out. At the time, I did not know Get Matlala at all.
So I'd like for us to be able to consider the audit report that was then done by the SAPS internal audit. Can I ask you to first turn to page 413? Of the annexure bundle.
Thank you. I've got it.
So, can you...
Sorry, Chair. Can you just afford me a minute to stand and sit again? I'm sitting on the tip of the chair. I'm short if I go too far back. I can't reach the mic. If I go too far, then I have to sit up straight. Just a minute. Apologies, members. Thank you. I apologize for that.
General Fani,
Okay, Chair. No, I thought sorry, Zigala. I thought I was going to do this without disrupting the meeting. If you are not familiar with this, you might not be able to know how to use this so that you can pull back. So I don't know if the general has been assisted with that.
Can you?
You've got to pull this the table. That's why I was pointing to somebody next to you.
I'll still have to reach the mic. The problem is the mic, it gets too far. Then I can't speak. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. It's fine. The problem is the mic, but I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member.
can you look at the document at page 413? Can you just explain to the committee what document this is?
This is the document that was, it's an audit report that was put together by Mr. Mukwana. He was the acting chief audit executive at the time. He had since left the employment of South African Police Service.
Okay. And I had wanted to indicate this is a preliminary on page 413. It indicates that it's a preliminary report. Is that correct?
Correct.
This report is dated January 2025. Was this report shared with you?
The preliminary report, yes, it was.
The preliminary report was shared with you. How was it shared with you?
The chief audit executive, Ms. Brigadier Mukwane, and the risk and compliance Brigadier Matlala came to my office, and they read the report and they left with the report. I never got the hard copy.
Okay. And can you confirm that a final audit report was subsequently filed?
I cannot confirm.
If you go to MF11, there's a final audit report that is dated April 2025.
The report was advanced to me a day or two ago, which I then put in the submission. But prior to that, I had never gotten a copy of the report.
Yes. But have you now had an opportunity to read the final audit report?
Yes, I have.
There are some differences between the interim and the final audit report, but in the main, many of the conclusions that were in the interim report are eventually taken to the final report. So for purposes of the evidence and to ensure that we're looking at the final report, I propose that we then look at the final audit report that was filed.
That will be okay.
Chair, it's 1 minute before the I think anticipated break, but I am going to go into a new topic in relation to this audit report, and it might be detailed. I wondered if it might be a convenient time now.
Yeah, I think it will be good that you take the new theme after break.